Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, Tinubu Shettima take oath of office as President and Vice President. Nigerians expect President Tinubu to fix economy and security. Media mogul and founder of AIT and Raypower, Raymond Dokpesi, dies at 71. On the foreign scene, South African president appoints judge to oversee weapons for Russia inquiry. Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I am Ayuba Ila. Thanks for joining. And now beginning with the May 29th inauguration. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will see through the removal of fuel subsidy initiated by former President Muhammadu Buhari. The new president was sworn in on Monday at the Eagle Square, Abuja, in a colorful ceremony that stretched into 4 hours. President Tinubu explained that funds saved from the removal will be channeled into better investment in public infrastructure, education, healthcare, and jobs that will materially improve the lives of millions. Kehinde Amodu reports.
It's a new dawn, and an early morning rain does not deter the huge crowd attending this inauguration. At about 10:40 a.m., Bola Ahmed Tinubu takes oaths of office and allegiance as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 10 minutes after Kashim Shettima was sworn in as Vice President. The promises to be a president for all, irrespective of the circumstances of history and political differences, precedes the real bombshell, the declaration that subsidy is gone.
No provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone.
President Tinubu says his administration will target a higher GDP growth, significantly reduce unemployment, and offer budgetary reform that will stimulate the economy without engendering inflation.
The Federal government must work towards a unified equilibrium. From arbitrage to minimal investment and the plant and the government, just as a power that will not a real economy.
The new president is making some grand promises, given the state he has found the economy in. For instance, he is bold to pledge that electricity will become more accessible and power generation will nearly double.
I have a message for our investors, local and foreign. Our government shall review all the complaints about multiple taxation. And review various anti-investment inhibitions. We shall ensure that investment and foreign business will maintain their harm and dividend and profits home.
But it's early days yet, and there's plenty of time to know if these promises will be kept or not. From the Eagle Square, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
Now, joining me in the studio to talk about the takeaways from the president's inaugural speech is Professor Hussaini Tukur from the Nasarawa State University here in the studio. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us on the News Hour tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Well, back in 2015, we, heard of the famous "I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody" quote of President Muhammadu Buhari. What's your major takeaway from President Bola Tinubu's speech today compared to what we had?
The major takeaway, if we are to take a similar phrase from Bola Tinubu, is that even though I've been elected by my party members. I belong to all. I will work for all. Before me, you are all Nigerians. Meaning that before me, you are all Nigerians. All of you are Nigerians. That means that he is not interested in working for the party members who elected him. He is interested in working for all. And he has made it very clear by congratulating those who elected him as well as those who did not elect him. Meaning that before him today, there is no other agenda than the Nigerian agenda. That his work is for Nigeria. And he has indicated that in beautiful praise, where he said those in the Onitsha market, those in the Lagos boats, and in the Savannah Fanos are all Nigerians that he will work for. So that is an indication of his effort to unite the country. Having seen the fact that the election divided the nation into three different persuasions. So that of his party, those who came under the umbrella of the Labour through the use and the idea of belonging to a religion, and those who were in the PDP. So in this very situation and circumstance, what the nations need is unity.
I'm very certain many Nigerians are looking forward to seeing the president walk the talk. But he mentioned also the issue about him implementing the removal of fuel subsidy, which was already started by the President Muhammadu Buhari administration, and also talk about another look on the CBN's policy, the cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. What does this indicate in terms of the body language of the President, Bola Tinubu?
It indicates, first of all, that the bogus policy of subsidy, which most Nigerians do not know exactly how much goes into fuel subsidy, how much fuel in terms of consumption per day Nigerians have. If you remember recently, a committee at the National Assembly said, while presenting a report, that all agencies involved in the petroleum subsidy cannot give exact figure on the consumption of petroleum in the country. Meaning that what is subsidized is not known. Because you need to know exactly how much is the consumption and how much is the subsidy. Since the figures are not telling, it means exactly that nobody can say specifically what the subsidy is, how much the subsidy is. And the issue of subsidy was not started by the former president. It was there. The former president made a promise also.
However,
to remove the subsidy.
Yeah.
But the fact is that the subsidy remains, and many people have the perception that it may be a fraud.
Do you think that perhaps the president will consider reversing the policy of the central bank on that cashless policy?
The pronouncement indicates clearly that he has reversed it. The pronouncement.
Even though he said that he will maintain the old and the new currency.
Meaning that even the ruling of the Supreme Court till December may exceed December. Right. That's clearly what the president is saying. Right. Even though there may be some policy pronouncement in the near future about what it is, but it's clearly indicating the fact that the policy has come to an end.
All right, well, thank you so much, Professor Hussaini Tukur from Nasarawa State University, for joining us on the News Hour. It's a brief chat here. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Well, now, after years of planning and politicking, Bola Ahmed Tinubu takes over office as the 16th President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But where did it all begin? In this report, Yusuf Akogu takes a look at his journey to the presidency. The report.
Popularly known as Jagaban, the former governor of Lagos State has never hidden his ambition to become the president of Nigeria. In a bid to actualize his dream of ruling the country, Bola Tinubu formed an alliance with General Muhammadu Buhari's CPC, ANPP, and other political parties. The alliance between Buhari's northern bloc of the Congress for Progressive Change and Tinubu's southern bloc of the Action Congress of Nigeria will later give birth to the All Progressives Congress and make Buhari the president in 2015 and 2019. In early 2022, he announced his desire to succeed Buhari, the retired general whom he assisted to become president. Not a stranger to politics, Tinubu's political journey began in 1991 as a member of the People's Democratic Movement, the political group of the late Major General Shehu Yar'Adua, retired. He spent years understanding Nigerian politics and tactics. This experience would later work for him. In 1992, Tinubu was among the new set of politicians who were cleared by the former military president, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, to contest elections, and he was elected as a senator representing Lagos West Senatorial District in the Third Republic that lasted only 22 months.
He has seen it all, he has the experience, and he has the capacity. It's not a too rosy journey, so to say, but Providence have made him to be where he is today.
He's been a veteran, he's been a consummate politician and an experienced administrator. And so in all of these years, he's been building alliances, he's been making sure his tentacles, his influence within the establishment politics in Nigeria, we are well entrenched. And what we see today is simply a result of his long years in the arena of democratic process in Nigeria.
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has paid his due, and we're happy that this today, the inauguration that happened today, it has seen the light of the day. We have struggled for this, for everything he has sowed, the seed he has sown. God Almighty has made those seeds germinate, and he's reaping it now. Asiwaju's journey should serve as a lesson to younger Nigerians, to younger generation, to even our political stakeholders, that when you have an ambition to achieve something, you should think the long haul. You should think about empowering people. You should think about building bridges to unify the country.
Senator Tinubu emerged victorious in the 2023 presidential elections conducted on February 25th. Now the 16th president of Nigeria, Tinubu defeated his opponent, scoring 8.7 million votes with over 25% of the vote cast in 30 states, and was subsequently declared winner by the Independent National Electoral Commission on March 1, 2023.
This was the most keenly contested presidential election in the history of Nigeria, and that was the reason why it was so close, to the extent that, being the candidate of the ruling party in the last 8 years, he failed to secure the totality, the overwhelming majority that most elected presidents, at least 1999, have secured. And so the challenge here is to move quickly to shore up the legitimacy of his legitimate mandate. And that will be, first, putting in place measures, deliberate measures at that, to unite a country that is thoroughly divided from a keenly contested election. And so he must be statesmanly in his conduct from day one.
He has sent out his speech, or this inaugural speech now, around unifying the country. You can see he's already extending olive branch to the other candidate. He said he's not in any way more than the other candidates. So he's already throwing up light that he's going to unify the country, and that is a lot of hope for us.
Regardless of the opposition to his victory, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be saddled with responsibility of walking the talk of his renewed hope agenda in the areas of security, economy, and fighting corruption. Yusuf Akogu, Trust Television News, Abuja.
In the meantime, Nigerians are hopeful that the new President Bola Tinubu will quickly fix the economy and address insecurity as his inauguration marks the end of Buhari's 8 years administration. Noel Samson speaks to some Abuja residents on their expectations from the new administration.
The last 8 years under former President Muhammadu Buhari have been eventful but turbulent. Some Abuja residents listed economic growth, improved security, good governance, social development, and job creation as what they want the Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration to prioritize.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he came in order to save the country, because in reality, Nigeria now we are facing three challenges. First, insecurity. Second, inflation. And the third is joblessness. So both these three categories that we are facing in this country, we have especially Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his colleague Shatima should do their best to deliver the country.
Hospital and salary. So the president should look about that.
We must look at mining, we must look at agriculture, we must look at other human resources, other resources that we are endowed with. We will develop them and harness them. One thing I like about this president, Ahmed Tinubu, is that he knows how to assemble the best sound to get the best result for the nation. So my expectation is he's going to deliver. He's going to deliver. And I want everybody to cooperate, because you cannot work magic when there's no cooperation. Whether the opposition or not, they should all come together and move the country forward.
Let there be growth in the country in all the sectors of the government. People are suffering. No, I'll not tell you lie. There's no food. Cashless policy came. Oh, COVID-19 came. And all these held persons down. I'm a party to some of my brothers, family members, lost their life in regard to this instability of the government. So what we are expecting from this government is restructure and renewal of the hope.
Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima took oath of office as president and vice president at a colorful inauguration ceremony at Eagle Square in Abuja on Monday. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
As millions of Nigerians across the country witness the beginning of a new administration, many are curious about the areas that will be given priority by the new president. Trust TV's Abdurrahman Umar speaks with political analysts who examined President Tinubu's proposed policies and agenda for the country.
Examining President Bola Tinubu's plans for Nigeria's economic development, job creation, infrastructure, as well as tackling Nigeria's pressing challenges such as poverty and insecurity. Analysts say President Bola Tinubu has the requisite knowledge and capacity to revamp Nigeria's economy.
Lagos is even more difficult to run and to succeed than even other countries, with due respect. And this is the first priority for the president and commander-in-chief, and he must, as a matter of urgency, as a commander-in-chief, pay on-the-spot visit.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, since before swearing in as the 16th president of Nigeria, has pledged to create jobs for millions of unemployed Nigerian youths. Although past leaders have made similar promises of job creation, revamping the economy as well as tackling insecurity, but failed to fulfill such promises, a policy analyst, Baba Yusuf, says the new administration under Tinubu would work tirelessly to deliver on the Renewed Hope agenda.
The Renewed Hope agenda is a robust document that has spoken to some critical issues that I believe are very important to the critical next steps, if you like, of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that in the next 2 to 3 months we are going to see impact.
On tackling insecurity, a security expert, Salu Dantata, believes a total restructuring of the security architecture in the country is what Nigeria needs at the moment.
Well, even though he talked about reforms in his inaugural speech, I think it goes beyond that. What the Nigerian security from the armed forces, police, paramilitary and others deserves and needs now is total restructuring for efficiency.
For the director, Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, Dr. Sam Ahmadi, what the president needs is to quickly appoint the right people who will get the job done while unifying the country.
I think the president has access to the right kind of people, I think. I mean, having been governor for 8 years in a complex state like Lagos, it's a cosmopolitan with all the diversity, the brain power. So he would lack people of idea.
Amadi said the president will not find this a difficult task since he has been actively involved in the democratic life of the nation since the beginning of the Fourth Republic.
He has been around not just as governor, but for the past 60 years, one can argue that he has been actively involved in discussing public policy. But what he needs to find quickly is the political will to get the right people into office.
Although many believe that President Tinubu recorded unprecedented development as governor of Lagos State and can replicate same in Nigeria, others have contrary views.
In fact, if you want to do a comparative analysis in terms of numbers, the population of Lagos is bigger than other countries where you have that are federal republics. So the performance or the expectation should not be zeroed down within the geographical size of a location, but indeed the complexity of that entity.
Despite the fact that rival political parties are in court seeking redress over the conduct of the 2023 presidential elections, supporters of the president believe there is renewed hope for the country. Abdurrahman Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
While the country's new president Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima settle down to the task of governance, stakeholders in the education sector have expressed their views on what they expect the new administration to do in order to move the sector forward. Among issues they want addressed are inadequate funding, deplorable infrastructure, low remuneration, lack of implementation of national education policy, among other challenges bedeviling the sector at the basic, secondary and tertiary level. The report.
Education is said to be a country's driving force for national cohesion, the bedrock for development and socio-economic growth. But the state of the sector in Nigeria continues to call for concern with inadequate funding, low teacher quality, outdated curriculum, lack of total implementation of the national policy on education, among others.
Because we call it basic education, secondary education, and tertiary education. Now, one of the key problems of basic or secondary education, which is the in-between the two, is that half of that education, half of secondary education, is under Universal Basic Education Commission, which is the junior secondary school. Then the remaining half is in all that something. So administratively, there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect. And that is why you mean subjects like biology that's supposed to take a very solid 5 years, we want to rush it in 3 years as senior secondary school. And integrated science that is being offered in the junior secondary school does not match up with the content of biology, chemistry, or physics.
Former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration took steps to revamp the sector and also budgeted 1.79 trillion naira, representing 8.2% from the 21.83 trillion naira 2023 budget, which is, however, below the 15% minimum spending recommended for developing countries by UNESCO. Experts say, beyond budgetary allocation, solutions such as actual disbursement and utilization of budgets, full implementation of the provisions of the national policy on education, structuring of responsive curriculum to address needs, among others, are necessary to turn around the sector.
How many percentage was actually put into use for those things they have been budgeted for? You'll be surprised if you carry out this something and you see that things are actually it's actually disturbing, because that number or that 1.something trillion at the end of the day, not everything will be disbursed. The few one that will be disbursed, not everything will be utilized.
With President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's promises of reviewing the education curriculum at all levels to suit emerging global best practices and current socio-economic realities, stakeholders are calling for critical engagements with inputs from all and a minimum of 2 years performance indicators to incoming minister in a bid to track the progress of the sector. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Former President Muhammadu Buhari has returned to his country home in Daura a few hours after the inauguration of the new president and vice. Hundreds of residents came out to receive him in a colorful and cheerful celebration. Trust TV's Northwest correspondent Idris Dibrin was in the ancient city of Daura, and here's his report.
Arrived in Daura, former President Muhammadu Buhari was received by the Emir of Daura, Umar Faruk. his friends and relatives, as well as hundreds of Daura residents. The former president is now back home after ruling the country for 8 years, and the people of Daura expresses happiness for the successful completion of Buhari's 8th year in office. The people of Katsina and Nigeria in general are very happy. We believe that Buhari has done 99% of what he promised Nigerians. The ones he didn't, we the people of Daura are asking Nigerians on behalf of him to forgive Baba Buhari. The former president is expected to stay in Daura for 6 months before finally relocating to Kaduna. But some are worried that there may be no enough amenities to support the presidential lifestyle. Baba is finally back. He is not relocating to anywhere. He always talked about his farm. And we know Baba is back, and he will be going back to his farm as well. According to the people close to the former president, Buhari lives a simple life and that he can always adapt to any situation he finds himself.
General Muhammad Buhari, the president, really, he runs a simple life. I don't think there's any place that you can take him, he cannot be able to stay. Take place of his hometown, where they were born and brought up here.
While celebration continue in Daura, a special Durbar in honor of the former president is expected to be conducted on Tuesday at the Emir's Palace. Idris Jubrin, Trust TV News, Katsina.
Now, although former President Muhammadu Buhari has handed over to President Bola Tinubu, the narrative on the streets is that the All Progressives Congress government brought untold hardship to the Nigerian people. In this special report, Kehinde Amodu looks at the New Hope agenda being advocated by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and whether he will do better.
Nigerians are quick to judge, and when they reach a verdict, are often unshakable in their convictions. The verdict on the Buhari administration is that even though he did quite a bit to bring change to the lives of Nigerians, he did not go far enough.
I would say they're doing well. They're doing well, but there's so much complaint about their badness or all the loopholes where they fail to fill.
Security is number one, which they promised us they are going to tackle. They could not succeed on it. Then suffering, poverty. They promised us on poverty, they failed. They promised us on electricity, they failed.
So many things that we have expected from the government, like I'm a graduate. So we expect like we're going to have some, vacancies of jobs. All these things were in vain. And all the promises that was made to us, we see nothing.
These sentiments expressed can be traced directly to two factors: the Naira redesign policy, which turned out to be a failure, and rising inflation, which is a global phenomenon.
How well have we done can be judged by Nigeria's emergence from COVID-inspired recession as being number 2 nation in the world to have come out, of COVID-induced recession. That tells you that we have put in place very many effective measures that have led to the regeneration of economy and to its stabilization.
This government has really to beat its chest. Of course, there are 1 or 2 things that came. Their timing was bad, extremely bad. The issue of changing the Naira, all right, it brought a hardship on the citizenry. And it cost this administration a lot of goodwill. In the end, where is the change of currency?
So why did Nigerians vote back the All Progressives Congress in the 2023 elections?
Ask anybody who you come close to on the street and say, what were you doing that when Buhari came, Buhari's coming affected you from doing it legitimately that you were doing? Today, there is relatively more power than we had under PDP. Today, there is relatively improved infrastructure than we had under PDP. But the big challenge is that we are so used to free money.
To be fair to the administration, it did make progress in implementation of certain policies which have changed the economic profile of the country. There is, for instance, the agricultural revolution, which gained enormous progress, but which now seems stuck in the mud.
For the better part of 2016, 2017 to about 2020, fertilizer was fairly available at affordable price. In fact, government set up a price for fertilizer, 50 kg of fertilizer, and it succeeded. That policy succeeded. All right, but Nigeria, you can trust us. I have a way of how do you do it? Undermine is very strong word to use, but we undermine that policy.
The challenge that Russia-Ukraine had for us is that we had brought in phosphate in addition to Morocco, but also from Russia, given the increasing number of fertilizer blending companies in the country. Now that's being blocked. We had to look to countries like Canada with higher prices, and the meaning that a government that had delivered fertilizer at 5,500 naira per bag, of course that is no longer possible.
The die is cast, and there is now an incoming government. The question on many lips is, will it be any different? What will it need to do to improve on the successes of the Buhari administration?
The president-elect knows how to create wealth if he wants, for the majority of the citizens. Your steel industry has capacity to employ 17,000 engineers in one fuel soup, and the ancillary Oshogbo and Katsina, Alaja, Ajokuta, and all the rest of them can power your economy back to life. You can't continue this recharge card economy that we are running. You can't.
Despite the feeling by some Nigerians that the Buhari administration did not meet up to the standards, there is overwhelming evidence that there has been vast change in the way government has been run, with results in almost all sectors of the economy. Nevertheless, the New Hope agenda being pushed by the incoming president must seek to make a change from the way things are being run. Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, with the inauguration of President Bola Tinubu signaling a smooth transition from one government to another, the country, and indeed her new leader, will naturally be a talking point among foreign allies and the world in general in the next few days. The content of this discourse among foreign allies will be direct function of the outcome of the polls and the person of the president, among other issues which dominated the headlines in the run-up to the inauguration. Chamung Dabeng speaks with some stakeholders on the sensitive issue of Nigeria in the eyes of the world. The report.
A large crowd dressed in different colorful apparel are at this event. This program is anchored on strict military traditions which have guided the handover process since 1999. After the swearing in of both president and vice president, the lowering of the country's colors, which are given to former President Buhari, and the hoisting of new colors. Then there is a full military parade.
Nigeria, the most populous black nation in the world and largest economy in Africa, strategic in regional and global politics. The country boasts of having a population of over 200 million people and is the sixth largest exporter of crude oil and leader in sub-Saharan Africa. This makes the country a strategic partner for other nations. Little wonder global leaders such as President of Turkey Tayyip Erdogan, Chinese President Xi Jinping, United Kingdom Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, President of France Emmanuel Macron, and the Prime Minister of Israel Benjamin Netanyahu have all pledged to work with the new administration in order to strengthen ties with Nigeria. This, many believe, makes Nigeria a force to be reckoned with.
Well, Nigeria is very strategic in West Africa, and so the entire world looks up to us. At this point that we have engaged again in a transition, the world beckons on us. So the reality is that the world leaders have attended looking at new hope, new businesses, new aspiration from the giant of Africa. I'd say that from the look of things, the president's speech today showcases an interest in international relations.
In order to further promote Nigeria's foreign ties and foreign direct investment, Dr. Alefuna says there is a need for Nigeria to look deep into its commodities market.
Well, I'd like to really request of the government to look at the possibility of setting up a corporation for the mining industry. The same way you have an NPC, you can have a corporation that is going to dissect operations into 5 or 10 subsidiaries and formalize the sector. If you do that, Nigeria in 2 years will not owe anybody anymore, because we will just explode in prosperity. Just solid mineral. What is on ground in this country, only in the state called Brunei, will in 6 months pay off our debts.
During his inaugural speech, President Tinubu vowed to improve Nigeria's economy by targeting a higher GDP growth and significantly reduce unemployment by instilling budgetary reforms, creating industrial policies, and making electricity more accessible and affordable to businesses and homes alike. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, though the inauguration of President Bola Tinubu has come and gone, it remains a historical moment in Nigeria, memorable for the colorful display of military procession. The event stretched from 10 a.m. to about 1:30 p.m. after the new president had delivered his inaugural speech. Kehinde Amodu takes us through the colorful program, which was held at the Eagle Square.
A large crowd dressed in different colorful apparel are at this event. This program is anchored on strict military traditions which have guided the handover process since 1999. After the swearing-in of both President and Vice President, the lowering of the country's colors, which are given to former President Buhari, and the hoisting of new colors. Then there is a full military parade by 3 arms of the military and a police unit. The Air Force then goes ahead to put up a dizzying aerial display. A cultural troupe adds color to reinforce the theme of Nigeria being better together. Outside of the different performances, the people at this event are just happy to be here.
Most beautiful expression of democracy, peaceful transition of power, what I call convergence. You don't need to be opposing parties. You are in one group going one direction, elevation up for the nation. This is the nation that is the most diverse, 500 tribes. And I saw the unity of the Christians, the Muslims, and all the other tribes, and a very peaceful, dignified transition of power.
The exchange of power, it was really emotional for me, where the outgoing president, Muhammadu Buhari, was leaving, and the incoming president the Nigeria was left for him. And it's a new dawn, and Nigeria is a great country, and I know that the new president coming in is going to take us to the place that everybody expected.
A befitting event has been put together to grace this change of baton, the 7th since the advent of democracy in Nigeria since 1999. From the Eagle Square, Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, we'll take a look at agroclimatic resilience in semi-arid landscapes. Details and more after the break.
That's great. Good to see you.
Welcome back. This is the News Hour on Trust TV. Here's a look at the top stories. Tinubu Shettima take oath of office as President and Vice President. Nigerians expect President Tinubu to fix the economy and address insecurity. Now, moving on, the stories from the states and the subnationals. The former governor of Katsina State, Aminu Masari, has handed over the mantle of leadership to the new governor, Dikko Umar Radda. Governor Radda and his deputy, Farouk Jobe, were sworn in by Katsina State Chief Judge Justice Musa Dalladi Abubakar at the Muhammad Dikko Stadium in Katsina amidst cheers and prayers shortly before the symbolic handing over of the mantle of leadership by the former governor. Abdullahi Yamadi reports that thousands of people, including family members, friends, and well-wishers of the new governor, as well as former Governor Ibrahim Shema, Saidu Barda, and members of the diplomatic corps, attended the inauguration ceremony. His report.
The fifth civilian governor of Katsina State, Dikko Radda, while thanking the people of Katsina State for the mandate given to him, promised not to let them down and called for more support and prayers to enable him succeed.
We will run a people-oriented government and resist anything compromising our ability to put our people first. I will lead by example, and I expect members of my cabinet and all public servants to do the same.
Some of the challenges the new administration will face include insecurity, poverty, failing education, and lack of reforms in the civil service, among many others.
To the bandit, I say, abandon your cause and reintegrate into the society, or face the full wrath of the law. And I urge our youth to shun drug abuse, time wasting, and criminality.
Malam Dikko Radda announced his administration's willingness to carry everybody along to enable people contribute their quota in changing the narrative of the state.
My administration will try its best to bring a new approach to governance. It will be inclusive and diverse, focusing on solid policy implementation and delivery. I am committed to following through the Building Your Future strategic policy, which has been subjected to review by over 200 of our best and brightest in different areas.
The Prefect of Maradi, Saadu Abubakar, and the Sultan of Tawa in Niger Republic, as well as the Emirs of Katsina and Daura, were also in attendance. Meanwhile, former President Muhammadu Buhari on Monday afternoon arrived his home state, Katsina. Buhari arrived in a presidential aircraft around 1:25 p.m. Shortly after the airport protocols, the former president boarded a helicopter to Daura, his hometown. At the airport to receive the former president were Governor Dikko Radda and his deputy Farouk Jobe, among many other dignitaries. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Thousands of supporters of New Nigeria People's Party witnessed the inauguration of Abba Kabir, governor of Kano State, at the Sani Abacha Stadium to succeed Abdullahi Ganduje, whose tenure ended after serving for 8 years as the 18th chief executive of the state. Salim Umar Ibrahim reports that the new administration has vowed to probe 241 billion debt incurred by the previous administration.
Following the tradition of power transition, which is usually observed on the 29th day of May after every democratic regime, power in Kano has transcended between Abdullahi Umar Ganduje to Abba Kabir Yusuf, popularly known as Abba Gida Gida. Ganduje, who spent 8 years as governor of Nigeria's commercial center, Kano, handed over through the outgoing secretary to the state government, Alhaji Usman Alhaji.
I have noted all that was said. But one thing is that I am very surprised at the departure from the established democratic tradition. Under normal circumstances, the outgoing governor is supposed to be around, supposed to hand over the incoming governor by himself.
Shortly after receiving the handover notes, the incoming governor said the handover note submitted by the Ganduje administration was not enough and was very scanty. He also said it was appalling that the Ganduje left a debt profile of over 241 billion naira for the incoming administration, saying this would be probed accordingly. It was indeed a moment of joy as thousands of supporters flowed nooks and crannies of the inauguration ceremony ground held at Sani Abacha Stadium. Salim Umar Ibrahim reporting for Trust TV.
Senator Uba Sani has been sworn in as the new governor of Kaduna State alongside his deputy Hadiza Balarabe at the Murtala Mohammed Square in Kaduna. In his address after taking the oath of office, Senator Sani pledged to run an inclusive government that will cater for all.
The newly sworn-in Kaduna State Governor, while addressing the gathering, promised to build on the legacies of his predecessor, Nasiru El-Rufai.
The elections are over. It is time for the top job of governance. I shall be a governor for all. I plead with you all to work with us to achieve peace, safety, and security across every community in this state. On my part, I will work assiduously to guarantee the safety and security of our hardworking farmers to actively return to their farms during the current farming season.
The new governor also reiterated his commitment to focus more on security, considering the challenges of the sector in the state.
The prevailing security situation in the country demands for a significant shift in the current structure. In this regard, I will work with my colleagues, governors, and members of the National and State Assembly to make state police a reality. I was in the forefront of advocacy for state police in the 9th Senate.
Earlier, the outgoing governor, Nasiru El-Rufai, while thanking the people of Kaduna State for the opportunity given him to serve, advised his successor to assemble a competent team that would help him deliver on his campaign promises.
My brother and friend, I commiserate with you. You have a huge task ahead, but I am confident you'll be luckier in the next 8 years than I have been in the last 8 years. Remember, you cannot do this job alone. Your team, if competent and capable, will focus on delivering results and nothing else. If you're unlucky enough to choose people you like that have no capacity, they will resort to blaming every other person for failures than the real culprits.
As Nigerians brace up for what this set of new leaders will bring on board, many want them to focus on good governance to ensure citizens are better off. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
No fewer than 28 governors across Nigeria were on Monday sworn into office after their electoral victories. Of the number, some were returning for a second term, while others are starting new terms in their respective states. Trust TV's Ibrahim Ismail in this report brings us excerpts of the inauguration in some northern states. The report.
In Gombe State, Muhammadu Inuwa Yahya and Manasa Daniel Jata were sworn in as governor and deputy governor of the state for a second term. Gombe State Chief Judge Justice Halima Sadia Muhammad administered the oath of office on Governor Yahya and Manasa at Pantami Stadium. Delivering his address, Governor Yahya said his government will focus in strengthening security.
The business of governors must continue apace. As always, I've gone on all stakeholders across partisan divides to join hands and move our state forward. On my part, I shall be just and fair to all.
Similarly, the Yobe State Governor Maimala Buni and his deputy Idi Barde Gubana have been sworn in for the second term in office. Their oath of office and allegiance was administered by Chief Judge of the state, Justice Gumna Kashim Kaigama, at the 27 August Stadium in Damaturu, the Yobe State capital. Elsewhere, Governor Bala Muhammad has been sworn in for a second term as the governor of Bauchi State. The governor was sworn in alongside his new deputy, Awal Jatau, by the state chief judge, Justice Rabi Talatu Umar, at the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa Stadium Monday in Bauchi. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News.
And in the southern part of the country, Sheriff Oborevori of the People's Democratic Party has been inaugurated as the new governor of Delta State. The ceremony took place at the Stephen Keshi Stadium, where the new governor assured Deltans of running an all-inclusive government. The report.
From the legislative branch of government and now to the executive, Governor Sheriff Oborevori says he understands where to focus on in order to touch the lives of all Deltans. As the immediate past Speaker of the State House of Assembly, he promises that his government will build on the legacies of the immediate past governor.
Speaker of the House of Assembly, I've learned the importance of setting the priorities of government, communicating the goals and outcomes of policies and programs. Today marks the beginning not only of a new term administration, but of an era that will advance Delta State to greater heights in people-centered policies, human capital development, and infrastructurally.
The immediate past governor of the state, Ifeanyi Okowa, while highlighting his achievements, commended Deltans for their support in the last 8 years.
It is with great joy and gratitude to God that I address you today. Joy because of the sense of fulfillment that comes from achieving the goals that we set for ourselves in 2015.
The oath of office was administered on Governor Sheriff Oborevori and his deputy by Justice Teresa Die, the Chief Judge of Delta State. In Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Umar Basi Eno, alongside Senator Akon Enyankain, have been sworn in as the governor and deputy governor of Akwa Ibom State. Eno was sworn in as the 5th democratically elected governor of Akwa Ibom by the state chief judge, Justice Ekayete Obot, and took his oath of office at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium on Monday in Uyo. Speaking during his inaugural speech, Governor Umar Eno promised a golden era for Akwa Ibom State, saying his government would usher a new era of peace and security for the state. Eno will call on the people to support his Arise agenda to build on the legacies of the immediate past governor, Udom Emmanuel, said he would be the governor of all Akwa Ibom people, irrespective of their political leanings. Over in Cross River State, the newly sworn-in governor, Basi Otu, has vowed to descend heavily on criminals in the state if they do not immediately seek amnesty. Governor Otu said his government will not condone them in any form or manner. The governor, in his inaugural speech at the UJ Eswene Stadium, Calabar, said he wants to reposition the state and make it alluring once more, such that citizens and investors can have renewed confidence and peace. Otu said his deputy, Peter Alde, were administered the oath of allegiance by the Chief Judge of the state, Justice Akon Ikpeme. Speaking earlier, the former governor, Ben Ayade, said he was able to survive due to divine ingenuity, knowing that the state received the least federal allocation in 8 years. He called for maximum support for his successor to ensure the state become better than he left it.
Now, the World Bank has commenced the implementation of agroclimatic resilience in semi-arid landscapes project worth $700 million in 19 northern states and the Federal Capital Territory to help reclaim degradation in the region of the country. Adamu Imam reports.
The national coordinator said essentially Bauchi State became the first among 19 northern states and FCT on commitment to the project as far as the intervention is concerned. He added that those states are competing for $700 million on agri-cell projects intervention with counterpart fund.
Brought about by climate change, some to a very large extent by our activities as humans, to some extent by nature. The intention is that this intervention will reach out to those, particularly at the grassroots. We intend to turn what I saw in the sky, largely brown to green, where water provisioning will be made available for agricultural purposes, which is predominantly the mainstay of the people of Bauchi.
While engaging the stakeholders through their traditional rulers at the community level, the World Bank team says the purpose is to fight issues surrounding desertification, drought, landscape degradation, and deprivation, particularly in the northern parts. They are expected to leverage on the projects to benefit more.
On a sad note, the chairman of the Dark Communications, Chief Raymond Dokpesi, is dead. According to a statement made available by the family, Dokpesi, who was a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, died at the age of 71 in an Abuja hospital after suffering a stroke, which reportedly happened after the recent Ramadan fast. The AIT boss had since then been managing his health and was placed on occupational therapy to improve his daily activities before his sudden death. Dokpesi's family appreciated the outpouring of love and support during this difficult time and promised to release further details on the funeral arrangements in due course. On the foreign scene, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed a judge to oversee an inquiry into allegations that the country supplied arms to Russia on a ship that docked secretly at a naval base in December. The allegations were made this month by the United States ambassador to South Africa, who said he was sure that weapons and ammunition were loaded onto the Russian-flagged cargo ship Lady R when it docked at the Simonstown naval base near Cape Town late last year. Judge PMD Mojapelo, a former Supreme Court of Appeal judge, was appointed chairman of a 3-member panel to investigate the incident. A lawyer and a former Minister of Justice were also appointed. The panel has 6 weeks to complete its investigations and another 2 weeks from then to provide a report to Ramaphosa, the President's office said. And that's a wrap on the News Hour for tonight. You can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.